Today, we are diving into some of history's most absolutely extreme survival stories. And look, these are tales that go way beyond just simple endurance. We're talking about people who stared the impossible right in the face, and somehow, they won.
I mean, that quote just says it all, doesn't it? This is about an almost superhuman level of resilience, a mindset where giving up just isn't even in the vocabulary, no matter how hopeless everything seems.
So, that's the big question, isn't it? When you get to this level, is it just about luck? Is it training? Or is it something deeper? You know, an unbreakable will to live that most of us can't even really imagine. Let's get into the stories and see what we can find out.
Our first story starts way up in the sky, with a 17-year-old girl who was about to come face to face with the raw, untamed power of nature itself.
Just try to imagine the absolute terror. One minute you're on a plane, and the next there's this blinding flash of lightning, this deafening roar, and the aircraft you're in just comes apart. That was the horrifying start to Julianne Kopka's ordeal.
And here's where the story just becomes almost impossible to believe. She fell 2 miles. That's more than 10,000 feet, still strapped to her seat, tumbling through the sky and crashing into the dense canopy of the Amazon rainforest. I mean, the impact alone should have been it. Game over.
But she wakes up the next day, the sole survivor of 92 people. It's a miracle she's alive, but she is far from okay. She's got a broken collarbone, a concussion, a deep gash on her arm, and she is completely alone and badly hurt in one of the most dangerous environments on the planet.
But here's the thing. Giuliani had an ace up her sleeve. Her parents were zoologists, and she remembered their #1 rule for getting out of the jungle alive. Always follow water downstream. So for 10 agonizing days, she held on to that one piece of advice, following a tiny stream, hoping it would lead her to a bigger river and, eventually, to civilization.
And her journey gets even more gruesome. Her arm wound becomes infested with maggots. She stumbles upon a small hut and finds a can of gasoline, and remembers her dad using it once to clean a dog's wound. In an act of just unbelievable bravery, she does the same to herself, using the fuel to force the maggots out and literally save her own arm.
Okay, so let's shift gears. Our next story moves from that kind of sudden, violent shock of a crash to a slow, drawn-out test of psychological endurance. What happens when survival isn't a 10-day trek, but months of total isolation in the middle of the ocean?
So it's 1942. Pun Lim, a steward on a ship, gets thrown into the Atlantic when his vessel is torpedoed. He manages to find a raft, which is lucky, but then his ordeal takes a turn for the worse, with this act of just pure cruelty. The German U-boat surfaces. The crew sees him, they literally mock him, and then they just sail away, leaving him to die.
Okay, so put yourself in his shoes for a second. Your few supplies are almost gone. You're starving to death in the middle of the ocean. You have no fishing gear. What on earth do you do? How do you even begin to find food?
Well, this is where pure ingenuity kicks in. Pun Lim didn't give up. He took apart a flashlight he had, found the little spring inside, and he painstakingly bent it into a fishhook. He used his very last piece of biscuit as bait, and he caught his first fish. That was the moment that changed everything.
But you know, food is only half the battle. Thirst will kill you way faster. When his fresh water ran out, Pun Lim did something that is just almost unthinkable. He somehow managed to catch a shark, kill it with his bare hands on this tiny raft, and drink the blood from its liver to stay hydrated. And he did this for 133 days. Let that sink in. Over 4 months, all alone on a tiny raft in the middle of the ocean. It is a world record for survival at sea that, to this day, has never been broken. Just a testament to an unbelievable feat of human will.
All right, so for our next story, we're adding another layer to this whole survival game. This isn't just about man versus nature. This is about man versus man, after nature has already done its worst.
We're going back to 1823 with a frontiersman named Hugh Glass. He stumbles on a grizzly bear and her cubs, and the result is catastrophic. The sources describe the attack as crumpling him into a pretzel. His back ripped open, ribs exposed, throat slashed. He was basically left for dead. So his companions, they strike a deal. 2 guys are paid to stay with him until he passes. But they got impatient. They decided he was taking too long to die. So they stole his rifle, his knife, everything he had, and just abandoned him. And it was that brutal betrayal that lit a totally new fire in him, the will for revenge.
And that fire for revenge fueled an unbelievable journey. 200 miles. Since he couldn't walk, Hugh Glass began to crawl. For 6 agonizing weeks, he dragged his broken, mangled body across the wilderness, driven by one single, burning thought: find the men who left him to rot.
And here's another one of those details that's pretty gruesome but absolutely vital. His wounds started to fester, and maggots hatched in his back. Horrifying, right? But those maggots ate the dead, rotting tissue, which actually prevented a fatal gangrene infection from setting in. In the strangest way possible, nature's scavengers actually saved his life.
All right, for our final story, we're going to witness what might be the ultimate act of self-reliance. This is where survival depends not just on your will, but on incredible skill, focus, and the nerve to literally cut yourself open.
Just look at this cascade of problems. It's 1961. Dr. Leonid Rogozov is at a remote research station in Antarctica, completely cut off by a blizzard. He gets acute appendicitis, and oh yeah, he's the only doctor on a team of 12. No rescue is possible. His choice is simple and absolutely terrifying: perform his own surgery or die.
And so, he did it. He actually did it. He calmly instructed his terrified colleagues, a meteorologist and a driver, on how to pass him instruments and hold up a mirror. Using only local anesthetic, he cut into his own abdomen. The mirror's reverse view was too disorienting, so he ended up working mostly by feel, locating and removing his own appendix in a surgery that took nearly 2 hours.
Wow. Okay, so after these unbelievable stories, falling from the sky, drifting for months, crawling for revenge, and performing self-surgery at the bottom of the world, let's circle back to that question we started with. So let's just recap what we've seen, right? We had Julianne Kopeck, tested by nature; Pun Lim, by total isolation; Hugh Glass, by betrayal; and Leonid Rogozov, tested by the limits of his own body and his own skill. Each one of them faced a totally different kind of hell, and each of them responded with an unbelievable act of will.
So what's the big takeaway here? Was it just pure, dumb luck that saved these people? Or are some individuals really just born with a total 10 out of 10 will to live that simply refuses to be put out? You know, their stories don't give us an easy answer, but they do force us to ask a really tough question. What are we really capable of when we have no other choice?